I think I am a master procrastinator.
I tend to deep clean very hard, and that's a way of procrastination myself.
So what's the difference between Kanban and like a to-do list?
This is not a pre-task, not an oshibori for me to do.
I am a guy who needs to be beaten, stepped on, stomped on, whipped.
Hi guys.
Welcome to another episode of
Passion Project Japan.
I'm Theo.
And I'm Gia.
And did you know that the first recorded watermelon was harvested 5,000 years ago in Egypt? That's a very, very long time if you were not aware. Speaking of long times, as you might have known, we have not uploaded in a while. And why is that the case, Gia?
Well, we have been in a crisis.
A crisis of immense proportions.
Yeah, so we are actually in the final year of university, and we have to write thesis basically. And it's been a very hectic month where we have to kind of rush 50 to 60 page of crisis.
Yeah.
Of thesis, yeah. So
we're done. I submitted my thesis last Monday, and had my defense last Friday.
Yeah. I still have a presentation, but it should be chill, so yeah.
So that took basically the entire June. Personally, I felt like my whole life stopped in June. Like I was like trying my best to focus on thesis. So the thing is, I try not to do any other things, but I also found myself like not working on the thesis. So in the end, I felt like it was a mixture of like very intense, locked in, like writing, and then maybe like 2 or 3 days where I'm like, I just literally could not
do anything.
Yeah, could not focus and could not do anything. Yeah. How was your thesis writing process?
I mean, same for me. I mean, I know that I have to focus on working on my thesis, but at the same time, I feel like, this is just one work and it's just so boring and repetitive. And I feel like I need to relax myself from something else. But at the same time, I feel like I don't have enough motivation to do any other thing, because the idea of having a thesis always bugging my mind.
Yeah, for real, right? It like weighs down. Like anything you do is like, I should be working on my thesis
instead of doing that thing.
Yeah.
So it comes down to this topic that we want to discuss today, which is procrastination.
Across the nation. Hey guys, if you like the content that you're seeing so far, please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube at Passion Project Japan. We love to make more content for you guys, and seeing our subscriber count go up is a good way to let us know that we're on the right track to making the best content we can. So remember to subscribe.
So I guess for thesis, what have you done during the June that you think that it's not efficient or like effective enough for you to just, like get it done? Basically, what do you do as a way of procrastinating something?
I think I am a master procrastinator. Actually, I think I procrastinate a lot of things. I generally, if I feel like there's a lot of like cognitive effort, unless there is a specific like time deadline, I actually don't think I very actively try to finish it. Like I know some people, they can like immediately when they get a task, they just like go and run and do it, even though the deadline is like 2 months away or something like that. Like I cannot do that. Like I have to be nearer to the deadline than I feel like
in order to have that, like urge to finish it. I know one friend, like one of our friends, as long as he got the assignments, he tend to just finish it right away, which is really good.
I respect that.
Yeah.
I respect that, but that's just not how I roll.
Yeah.
Like the carrot and the stick?
No.
So like there's like 2 ways to motivate somebody. It's like the carrot or the stick. The carrot is like a treat. So like you positively treat them, and then the stick is like you will beat them. And so I am a guy who needs to be beaten, stepped on, stomped on, whipped.
Yeah. And well, like sometimes I do try to like finish tasks early, but I always end up leaving that task there until the deadline so that I can check it one more time and submit it on the day. Because sometimes I have this idea of you still have time, you need to revise something before submitting your assignment, which makes me feel like that is a way of me procrastinating or like get it undone or leave it as an ongoing task.
Yeah. And so I know you've done some research. I'm more like the audience today that I'm going to react. So Gia has very nicely compiled a bunch of time management techniques, like Japanese time management.
Japanese techniques. Since we're in Japan, we want to kind of do some research about how Japanese people or how the Japanese culture tries to combat procrastination.
I feel like that's interesting because it's like, I'm not necessarily sure. Maybe like some of the ideas originated in Japan, but a lot of it maybe was popularized by American authors who came here and like, oh, look at this like concept, and then they write about it.
It's so cool,
Yeah.
this kind of stuff, and then
So
they
there's
kind of like promote it.
Yeah.
In a sense, as they also implement these techniques, Japanese techniques, in a lot of other countries as well.
Fair enough, yeah.
So yeah, let's just dive in the first one. I think this is one of the most popular one.
Yes.
And I know that you probably heard it before. It's called Kaizen. And Kaizen itself, the word means improvement.
Mm-hmm.
But the concept of Kaizen here in the Japanese culture or context is that based on the idea that small continuous improvements does matter, and it can bring positive changes and significant impacts.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one is originally started in manufacturing industries where they kind of want to eliminate waste. They want to simplify the tasks of the production process, or they want to create a habit or routines for the employees. Mm-hmm. So what do you think? How do you think that we can, apply this concept in, your personal life?
So just to clarify, Kaizen, so it's continuous improvement. So it's literally just the concept of continuous improvement. Do they define like what continuous improvement is? Because there's also this concept, like I think it's American, I'm not sure who talked about it, but it's like the 1% rule. Have you heard about that?
I heard of it before, but I can't explain it right away.
So I think it's like, basically you want to try to improve like 1% every day because that compounds over time. Right?
Yeah.
Like the 1% compounds.
Yeah, exactly. So if you just try 1% every day, then the interest rate is like 1.01 to the power of something, right? But if you don't try, or you try less than 1%, less than 1% of the previous day, then the improvement is just 0.99. And over time, that compounds to less improvement.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's similar somehow.
Yeah, this Kaizen.
But the idea of Kaizen here is someday you try something, you try to improve yourself a little bit. And there is one famous example of doing the Kaizen thing, which is try to wake up early, like 10 minutes early every day.
And then if you keep doing that, won't you just wake up like 12 a.m.?
I mean, you know what? That's not what I meant. Yeah. What I meant is maybe
let's say
you
you're
try
waking
to
up late. Like you wake up 11 a.m.
Yeah. And then you try to wake up early, 10 minutes early every single day, and to the point that you wake up around like 8, 7, and you're happy with at that time, and you kind of like change to another kind of improvement instead of working on that sleeping habit,
Oh, actually, that is a very interesting way to think about it, right? Because, like for example, if we're taking the waking up late thing, if you immediately change from 11 a.m. to 7 a.m., maybe like you can do it like the first week, maybe the first 3 days, but then because it was such a cold like change, you won't be able to sustain it over time. So that's interesting. So it's kind of like gradual. So like 11 a.m., then 10:50, then slowly 10:30, then 10:20, 8. Then it slowly builds up, right? So there's a process.
Yeah. And habits like that must be built over time, because I still remember when I was 18, 19, I was in a military camp, and I had to wake up 5 a.m. every day. And I thought that after a month of being in that camp, I was going to be able to wake up at 5 a.m. every single day, because maybe that's already the habit. But once I came home and I thought that, I'm going to follow these military habits. But the next day I just wake up at 10 a.m. again. So you see, I feel like the reason why I failed to do so, firstly, was because I slept late. Mm-hmm. But secondly, maybe because the change was too abrupt. Like I was into a completely normal environment again. I have no one to wake me up. And there's no small change. I have to change it abruptly to that environment. That's why it's not so effective.
Yeah.
But let's say you try to change maybe just 5 to 10 minutes every day. It's not a big impact if you see it in the short term, right? But in the long term, maybe it will create something. But another way, you said I mentioned something that is like companies try to eliminate waste.
Yeah.
So one suggestion of doing this in personal life is to stay away from distractions or interruptions. For example, if you're too into maybe like playing games or scrolling through social media, then you can turn that distraction off for a few hours and focus on your work.
Mm-hmm.
That's one suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kaizen is conceptually makes a lot of sense, right? Continuous improvement, practically
it might be
very
hard.
difficult.
But I would say that the distraction thing is very easy to do though for me.
Like to block out distractions?
Yeah.
Like what distractions do you have in your thesis? For me, it was like, because I didn't want to like pour in a lot of time to do like one specific thing. So I played this thing online called Pokemon Showdown, which is just like one Pokemon battle, like online with some other trainer, right?
Yeah.
So it will only take theoretically like 5 to 10 minutes because it's just one battle. But then like once you start one battle and then it's like, oh, maybe just play another battle and then play another battle, and then that's how I like procrastinate basically. Yeah. I should have just blocked it. I should have just blocked it.
Yeah. Same for me. Like I really like watching badminton recently, and I thought that maybe watching like one highlights would just waste 10 minutes of my time. Not waste, but like,
it's not waste. You're learning. You're studying.
I'm learning some analysis, yeah. But I'm saying that, I thought I would just do or watch one highlight and I would move to another task, which is more important, writing thesis, doing my work. But in the end, I spent almost 1 hour and a half watching the whole match.
Yeah.
And I mean, create like blocking myself from distractions means that maybe I should set a timer on a thing, and usually I would do that for not on the phone. I will say, okay, at 1:30 I will start doing this, and that helps me cut things off. Yeah. And I find that pretty effective. Sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time it shows some effectiveness on me.
Yeah, I mean, so if you guys have any ideas of how to practically apply Kaizen, please put it in the comments. We would love to hear. What should people do?
Follow Passion Project Japan on Instagram and TikTok.
The next one is called Kanban.
Kanban, okay.
Yeah, I saw this on Notion.
It's Notion, Trello, Asana. They all use this Kanban board.
So basically, it means you're using a visual board to manage the workflow and optimize work progress. And interestingly, I think it's also developed in manufacturing world, and it was founded by a Toyota engineer called Taiichi Ono in order to kind of like better control the inventory system. So originally, I think the flow of the board was, okay, there's a backlog, there's an in progress thing, and there's a review, and you will have like a so-called Kanban card, and you will have to put your tasks accordingly when you finish them. And the rule is you only move the card when you're done finishing the other task, instead of like having the overflow of work. So you're trying to systemize it, but you're also trying to simplify it at the same time.
So what's the difference between Kanban and like a to-do list?
I mean, to-do list, you're just ticking, right? But here you can also see the workflow and how people are at in the progress. Is it not?
Also, as in, because you see, like to-do list is very static. Like do this, and after that, after you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this.
Exactly.
But it's all in like one list. Whereas Kanban is like you're moving through the process.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's a visual flow. You see, okay, you have this task, but you also want to know where you're at. Like for example, if you have saying a thesis introduction still ongoing, you put it in progress. But once you're done, you move on to the next task. So you see that you can track your progress at the same time. So it's not just a to-do list, but it's also something that helps you keep in track or kind of like help you to become more efficient in doing your daily task.
So
I guess.
what's the 3 categories again?
There are a lot of like different templates for this.
Oh yeah.
But the easiest one I found, or like the simplest version, is first you have a backlog. On Notion. Notion always have this inbuilt table where I can write down my tasks, the deadline, the progress, or what kind of categories it lies into. For example, if I have this calculus homework, I will put it there. I will put the deadline. I will put the category, which is calculus class, and then I will have the progress thingy to keep in track.
Right. So this is the thing with like to-do lists or like Kanban boards. How granular do you make your tasks? So like, for example, thesis introduction, let's say, like write your thesis introduction. So is that the task, or do you break it down even more? First research the abstract or write this 200 word abstract, or find the citations for introduction, find your anecdote for the introduction. Like how do you just put one big task, or do you like to break it down to really, really, really specific like tasks?
I think it really depends on you. Like if you want to even focus even more on how you want to build your or thesis writing or the structure of your writing, then you can for sure break down. Everything can be broken down into molecules, like.
Wow, science.
Yeah.
Actually, can I just talk like maybe a bit of a tangent about one very interesting application of Trello or Notion, like Kanban boards basically. There's this one-man design agency guy. He's called Design Joy. He really popularized this thing called like productivized service. So basically, he charges I don't know what's the cost now, but let's say $3,000 a month, and you can request unlimited designs from him.
What kind of design?
Like UX or like web design or like any graphic design related tasks that you have. So it's like having a graphic designer on your team, but if you don't want to hire some like a very integrate like one graphic designer on your team, you can just hire him as like a service. So unlimited graphic designs for like a month, and then if you only need him for like 2 months because your project is 2 months, then you can only you only need to hire him for that 2 months, right? And so he runs everything of like every client communication of like Trello, which is basically just the Kanban board app. Yeah. So he doesn't have any like, I think only the kickoff meeting is online, and then everything other than that will be like offline. It's super interesting because he shared like a little bit of like the Kanban structure. Basically, like one board is like your requests, and then after that he makes the client drag one of the requests into the work in progress. And so you can make unlimited requests, but he will only do that one item in the work in progress. And then there's unlimited review. So every time he's done, he will ping you a message and then go and check it. And once it's completed, you just drag it into completed, and then from the request, just drag a new one inside.
Yeah. So that's literally the idea of Kanban.
Yeah.
And it's not just applied to like, like personal life. That's how people use it in Kanban, in like manufacturing industry. So you have the Kanban card, and people will just scan it to see what is the progress. That's how I understand it. But I mean, you can find it online too. But that's literally the idea of Trello. Yeah. So I guess it's just Kanban online, Kanban.
So I think it's a good tool if you know what you're using it for and specific stuff. So what's the next concept?
Next one? I find this very simple. It's called Shitsuge, which is discipline.
Okay, so it's more like conceptual, like Kaizen.
Yeah. Okay. And it's just one word, but it's also one of the 5 important S in Japanese work cultures. So in Japanese work cultures, there's a thing called 5S, where there are seiri, which is sorting, seitan, systemizing, seiso, cleaning, Seiketsu standardizing, and Shitsuke, which is self-discipline. Yeah. So they want to have this system in their working culture in Japan.
Okay. This is like some Japanese management theory kind
Yeah,
of principles thing.
yeah.
Okay. But
And
not every company follows this, right?
No, but I'm saying like it's very simple discipline.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that discipline is indeed very, very important. I used to not being able to, exercise every day.
Okay.
No, it's a very simple example, but
Yeah.
it's discipline, and I try to start working out with twice a week, just doing like abs workout, and I increase into 3 times a week, and now I almost do it. I do it almost every day. So it's discipline, and I feel like if there's a day that I don't do exercise, I'm not disciplined enough. Only when I feel like it's too tiring for me, the day has been long, or I feel like I don't have enough energy to do the workout, or I feel like, okay, I'm doing enough workout for this week, then I will stop. But if I only have one workout this week, then I would try my best to maintain that discipline for myself.
So for discipline, I feel like that's very tied into Kaizen, like continuous improvement, right? Like you can only achieve so-called Kaizen or like this continuous improvement if you have the discipline to keep doing that. So like, how did you build that discipline?
How do you build? Exactly. So it's like a like continual improvement. You try a little bit every single day, and then you kind of build your own habit over time, right? So that's how discipline is like, I guess.
I'm not a disciplined guy, I would say, despite going to the military, which is like very external discipline. So yeah, that's like, I don't know whether this is theoretical, but I feel like there's a lot of like external environments that force discipline on you, like schools or the military. And then there's internal discipline, which is you yourself and the standard that you hold yourself towards. Yeah. So external, I'm okay with like external discipline, like being in that environment to a certain degree. But like internal discipline, I find it like difficult sometimes to build.
And last one is a thing that I find pretty hilarious. When I see the name, is called oshibori.
Oshibori, like the napkin.
The napkin thing in Japan. Maybe you can show them something.
Like when
here.
you go into a restaurant, they will give you like this white towel to clean your hands and stuff. So that's called oshibori. Or if you go to a family mart, they give you a wet tissue.
Yeah,
that is like
that's
oshibori.
called oshibori.
Yeah.
So oshibori is basically like a rituals, pre-task.
Okay.
You're doing something to get yourself ready for the main task. And some example are tidying the workspace, cleaning up to prepare mentally for work. And what do you think of this? Do you do something similar?
No, I've heard about this. Especially writers, they do this thing where they do like a writing ritual. So like before they start doing it, they want to get into the mood of writing, right? So then they do something like they clear up their space, they make a coffee, and then that gets them into the mood. I actually have something like this. Like when I need to lock in, like I really need to lock in, I listen to like this one deep focus playlist on Spotify, and like the first song is always the same. So it's like Pavlov's dog, right? Like you're trying to condition your brain. When you hear that music, then it's like, okay, you know that
You have to do work.
Yeah, it's time to do work. Yeah. So I try to condition myself. So every time I hear that music, that's when I know that, okay, I'm about to do it. Which is sometimes a problem, because like if I don't really feel like doing work, then I won't play that specific soundtrack, and then I will naturally also kind of be like, after like 5-10 minutes I like sidetrack and do something else.
Recently, I've done something similar too, which is playing typing tests.
Type racer, like before you start work.
playing this game helped me to release my finger stress, and
Okay.
and then the stress I feel like, oh, I have to type a certain word for the thesis, for example. So playing this for maybe like 5, 10, 20 minutes can be a pretty good starter for me recently. Sometimes I do spend like 30 minutes on playing just typing games. But yeah, like after a while I feel bored of playing games, and I can say, oh, I'm ready for work because I'm tired of playing this typing game. And the reason why typing games are good and not so distracting in terms of games is because you will get bored after a while. It's not like, okay, you'll progress, or like, for example, if you play Pokemon and you will see that you win or you lose or you found something new, right? But for typing tests, you just type. There's nothing else.
So there's not a specific competitive like.
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to beat
outcome.
yourself. Yes, you're trying to improve. But in the end, it's a boring game.
Yeah.
For me. But I play it anyways because I know that it can help me to improve my my typing, and it can get me ready to, to start my work.
That's interesting because going back to the writing thing, I heard like one tip that writers give specifically for like copywriters who have to create like advertising copy is to do like crossword puzzles before you start writing. The reason is that you want to warm up the brain, and then you want your brain to make connections to words and how words are being used. That is not the actual task yet, but you're kind of like warming up the engine, right? So I think it's interesting to think about what kind of activities, like sort of activities, like that is related to the task that you have to do, that can warm up your engine so that you're not going in cold. You're like doing some stretching in terms of like mental effort. Yeah. Type racer for thesis actually makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of
More
sense,
than
right?
a Pokemon for.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's quite addictive and it's quite helpful. I always tell myself, okay, I'm not doing something.
To get into the flow of it.
Yeah, exactly. But there's one downside I find for Oshibori myself. I kind of disagree with tidying up task as a pre-task rituals. The reason is because I tend to deep clean very hard, and that's a way of procrastination myself.
Right.
Yeah. So instead of cleaning up the workspace, I feel like, okay, once I finish cleaning up the workspace, I feel like everything else is being very dirty, very messy. And that's when I started, okay, how about I clean up the whole room? How about I clean up my whole kitchen, the whole toilet, the whole apartment, basically. And that's when I can easily spend an hour and a half, or sometimes even 2 hours just to clean my room. And that's when I end up, I'm too tired, I want to go to
Cleaning
sleep.
becomes like a trigger.
It's like a trigger.
Yeah.
So it can work for some people, but for me, this is not a pre-task, like not an oshibori for me to do. The cleaning thing.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how nasty you are and how nasty your workspace is, right?
Yeah.
But if you just go outside and work, right? But not everyone can go outside and work. But if you go, then you don't necessarily need to do that tidying up of workspace.
Yeah. Or maybe this example applies to people who are already in their in a company, and then they have their own workspace and they don't have anything else to clean.
Yeah.
But yeah, even tidying up the workspace can take a lot of time, and for me, it doesn't necessarily mean that I want to start working after cleaning up. Yeah.
Fair enough. So those are like the 5, like productivity techniques, concepts, ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. For people to think about and.
Which one would you think that it's the most applicable for you?
So they are
Kaizen, Kanban, Shitsuge, and Oshibori.
Also 4.
Yeah, 4.
Shitsuge, discipline, right? Oshibori is like tidying up. Yeah. Conceptually, I think that Kaizen makes a lot of sense. You always want to continuously improve. It's just that practically the act of being disciplined, like to do that continuous improvement is difficult. So I think like I have to kind of quantify like what that is and in a manageable amount, because like you said, it should be incremental instead of just like straight up, okay, tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 5:45 a.m. and go for a run. It's like, whoa.
It's very hard
slow
to
down,
do
boy.
so.
Yeah, it's like difficult to immediately make that change, right? So Yeah. One that I mean is immediately practical is to find your oshibori, I think. Like I can imagine many students, like even myself when I was doing my thesis, to be honest, that deep focus playlist really did help me. Like, and it's not just like you have to rotate songs, it's that specific song that
just triggers
this like response from me is like, okay, it's time. Like I know I gotta lock in now, right? And if you can find that routine or like that trigger that will make you be like, it's time
to do work.
It's time to do work. Yeah. Then I think that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think oshibori is probably the most practical
for you. Yeah. I like Kanban. Probably just because I really like drawing. I'm not good at drawing, but I like drawing things, like visualize things. So, I mean, maybe you know, but I like to also write a to-do list every day. I like to, organize my own Google Calendar. I like to make things with color, like once you put out those tasks in, a very visual and easy to read way, I feel like me, myself, get motivated to do something.
Ooh, so it has to look good.
It has to look good for sure. Like if it's a to-do list, sure, it's fine. But if it's like, okay, the whole week of work, then I need to organize it in a very easy to look way. And I tend to choose the color that I like to make things more triggering.
Yeah.
Like for example,
that could also be a form of procrastination though. Like you're trying to make it look too pretty.
Exactly. It's a way to do work as well, but I spend a lot of time on organizing that as well. But I always put work in a red color. I don't know why, but it feels like, okay, this is like urgent. Yeah, emergency. Yeah, like, oh, you have to go to work.
Panic. Yeah, it's like a little bit of a color theory panic. Yeah, so those are the 4 principles of Japanese techniques that will help you manage your time, manage your productivity a little bit better. If you have used any of these techniques or you find any of it useful, please let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
We want to read more comments. We want to get more people engaged. And if you don't want to put it on YouTube, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Passion Project JP. But make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Passion Project Japan. Yes.
Yeah. And if you just want to listen to us on podcasts, then you can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Yeah. So thank you so much for bearing with us as we did our thesis. Thesis is over, and so now you're going to get more PPJ content, hopefully in July and the rest of the month following that. So please subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.